What's up everyone, welcome to this POV review by AutoTopNL. My name is Max and we're here today with the all new Honda Civic Type R, the FK8 model. And well, funnily enough, it hasn't been all that long since the previous, the FK2, came out. It's about 2 to 3 years in 2015. And well, although it looks kind of similar, they did change a lot about this car. And well, we're going to do a walk around and I'll show you some stuff on the exterior. Then we'll drive it around this lovely road and we'll take it to the Autobahn later on. And if I can just have a moment of your time, we introduced our new watch. It's called the Turismo, limited to 50 pieces. If you're interested or you want more information, go to ignitioncollection.com. So, moving on. Let's start with the exterior, because we've got it in white, championship white, which is not the best color, but it does show off a lot of features that a black one or a gray one wouldn't. So let's start here. We've got a Type R logo. We've got all this black mesh in the grille. We've got a carbon fiber splitter. I'm not sure if it is carbon fiber really, but it does look nice. It could be sort of a sticker on plastic, or it could be really thin woven carbon fiber. I don't really know. Moving on, we've got a hood scoop in here for some cool air for the engine. We've got Continental Sport Contact 6 tires, which Honda claims are as good as Michelin Cup 2 tires. And these are 20-inch wheels with 4-piston Brembo brakes. And they are supposed to have the same stopping power as a Honda NSX, so the same braking performance. We've got all these openings which are totally functional, so they are open, which is not all that common. Sometimes you see that they are closed. More carbon fiber with a little sort of winglet here that directs air away from the rear wheels and sort of lessens the turbulent air. At the rear, I mean, this is probably the most extreme part of this car. With that huge spoiler, if you sit low down, I mean, that thing is immense. 3 exhaust tips, or not really, but it's part of the exhaust, all 3 tips. And a Nürburgring sticker, 7 minutes, 43 seconds and 8/10. That's the front wheel drive Nürburgring lap record. So quite impressive. And well, what else do we got? We've got these weird Vortex Generators, they are called, and more over there. Big wing. I mean, it's quite an extreme looking car, and it is a hot hatch, but if you look at it from the side, it sort of looks like a saloon car. If you think away the spoiler, then you can really see that it's a hatchback, but with that spoiler on there, it sort of looks like a sports saloon. And well, it's very divisive, this car, or the looks of this car are very divisive. Some people hate it, some people love it. I don't know if I love it, but I do love the fact that it's form follows function. So everything on here has a function. You can also get an extra carbon fiber exterior pack. So that would mean you get carbon fiber wing mirror caps and a carbon fiber rear wing, which this part is then just completely carbon fiber. So that will be pretty cool as well. So let's check out the interior. And well, let's start with my favorite part of the interior, which are these seats. Let's get in. These seats are so supportive and so soft, so comfortable. I mean, this is a perfect seat. It's really sort of retro 90s with that red Alcantara, really high side supports on the backrest as well as on the seat. It has that carbon fiber on the rear, but I don't know if it's real, but it does look cool. So yeah, these seats are absolutely fabulous. I do feel like I could sit a bit lower, but it's not bad at all. What else? Well, I'm not the biggest fan of this interior. I think the steering wheel is good to hold, but it's not that nice looking. I think this is really bad. I really don't like that. And I don't like the dials, the digital dials. Because the frame rate of that screen, the refresh rate is not great. But what I do love is this right here. This 6-speed manual gearbox is absolutely delicious. It's so tight, and I love this plaque as well with Civic Type R. We've got a drive selector right here, so you start in sport automatically, but you can switch to comfort. And this is new for this model. Before you could only use normal or R plus or sport or whatever, and now you have comfort, sport and plus R, which is pretty cool. And it's actually quite comfortable in normal or in comfort. Okay, so let's take it for a little drive. Everyone wave to Martijn. Bye bye. Alrighty. So the new Civic Type R, what is it like to drive? Well, as you probably hear, we've got rev matching. So when I change gears, change down, you get a auto blip on the throttle. And like this in comfort, it's really not bad. It's like a normal car, and that's really funny, but you wouldn't expect that looking at it. You know, it's so extreme on the outside, but it just looks so extreme. And then you get in and it's comfortable. So there we are, our lovely road here. And well, that brings me to the next thing about the drive selector and the adaptive dampers and stuff like that. This is it. So there are only 3 settings. There's no individual mode or something like that. And well, if we switch to sport, it gets a little more stiff. The throttle response gets a little more aggressive. So that's all great. Switch to plus R, more of the same. You know, it gets even stiffer, more aggressive. The steering gets a lot heavier. And on a road like this, that's fine, those super stiff dampers. But if the road surface would be a bit less smooth or bumpy, more bumpy, or like on the Autobahn, I would love to have an individual setting, you know, making me able to switch everything to its sportiest setting apart from the dampers. And as you know, I don't like that super heavy steering feel. So I would also put my steering feel in comfort, because I really prefer that. A bit lighter, more feel. I mean, heavier doesn't really equal feel. So I don't know when that started. We've got a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine, which produces 320 horsepower, so that's 10 up from the last Civic Type R, and 400 Newton meters, which is actually the same as the previous one. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 5.8 seconds, which is not bad, but it's actually a 1/10 slower than the previous one. Don't know how that happened. It weighs 1350, 1380 kilograms, something like that. So it's not really that heavy. Okay, and now for the important part, the handling. We are in plus R mode. and this car really feels very, very beefy. It feels really quick, but more importantly, this chassis feels really, really great. And that's partly because they built this car, and the new Civic, this is the 10th generation Civic, and they started designing and building it with this Type R in mind. So they knew this was going to happen, and so they were able to develop this car as a Type R instead of, you know, a Civic with a couple of cool Type R parts on it. We've got a limited slip differential at the front. Of course, it has front wheel drive, and dual axis suspension system, which is similar to the Revo knuckle system which the previous generation Ford Focus RS had. And it's sort of simplified. It means that the front axle doesn't have to deal with all that torque steer, and it's more able to put the power down. And of course you have that limited slip diff, so that also really helps. It also has a revised version of the transmission we had in the FK2 Civic Type R. That was already really great, and this is even better. I mean, this is just... oh, it's so tight. It's just... There's no play whatsoever. It's just... oh yeah, that feels really, really good. And Honda really feel that the DNA of a hot hatch is front wheel drive and a manual gearbox, nothing else. And of course they don't really have a dual clutch gearbox they can choose from to put in this car, but I really do agree with them, because it's just so much more involving to drive a car like this than a Golf R, for instance. Oh man, it really pulls from those corners. It's quite impressive. Another really special thing about this car is that it has a single mass flywheel, which means that it revs much more easily, and it drops revs faster, quicker. And that means that you get a much more aggressive engine that revs really quickly. And you know, something that's on a Porsche 911 GT3 and on this, I mean, that's pretty cool. Something else, the brake pedal feel is just phenomenal. I mean, I told you guys already that it has the same stopping power as a Honda NSX. Well, the pedal feel is really exceptional as well. The cool thing about this car, especially this generation FK8 Civic Type R, is that they made the extreme more extreme, so that extreme handling has become more extreme. Those tires, for instance, those Continental Sport Contact 6, they were developed for this car. All that aero, the new suspension, the new chassis, the fact that it was inherently part of the development of the new Civic, and you know, as a result they took the front wheel drive lap record at the Nürburgring. But the crazy thing is that it has become a much more nice normal car as well. So you know, driving to your work or from your work, it's just it has become a more complete car, and I think that is a very, very good thing, because the last one was so hard, so stiff. There was no compromise, and I think that with this they definitely achieved that compromise. Alrighty, and we'll go and see at the Autobahn how much that suspension has improved. Alrighty, let's take it for a quick Autobahn blast, and well, let's see how it drives, because the last one we drove, the FK2, we didn't drive on the Autobahn, and that one was stiff as hell. So I don't think that would have been great to drive on the Autobahn. And now of course we've got those dynamic dampers. I'm in comfort mode right now, and as we've seen, it's a great setup, it's quite comfortable. And on the Autobahn as well, I can already feel that it's really nice. It's not soft or anything, but it's soft enough. So with that 2-liter turbo engine, 320 horsepower, as I said, it has a top speed of 272 kilometers an hour. But because you have all that aero and that huge rear wing, you actually need quite some space to be able to achieve that. We're at 230 now, 6th gear, and well, that suspension is just phenomenal. 250, it's really stable. And something I really like about this car is that from about 2,500 RPM right up until the red line, it just keeps pulling. I mean, it's crawling right now, but it is kind of steady. 262, got a few bumps here, slow down a bit. Okay, let's switch to plus R mode, so the most aggressive setting for the dampers, the throttle, the steering feel. The steering gets really, really heavy. Okay, let's get a bit of a gap going here. There we go. So it feels a little more aggressive. And we've got a bump here, so let's see how the suspension handles that. Yep, it's pretty hard. Good thing those seats are so comfortable. But the stiffness of the suspension doesn't really mean that the balance disappears when you go over a bump. It's not like it's getting unbalanced. It feels really, really planted. I'm actually quite impressed with the way it feels. Of course, I can't really compare it to the last one, but I really can imagine that that one would be a handful on the Autobahn, especially if you got some bumps at high speed. And well, this one really handles itself very, very well. So we are entering the Netherlands again, so speed limit, unfortunately. And that's my cue to end this POV review. I hope you enjoyed it. You can subscribe by clicking the big button, and you can watch this POV review up here or check out this POV review playlist. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you at the next one. Bye guys.